All right, next we move on to professional development discussion item. And I know there's some keen interest in this topic, so Dr. Manager, are you teeing this up?
Yeah.
Yes, please, with a look at our professional development plan for the summer and what's been done and what's to do.
Sure. So
I'll go into discussion from there.
yeah. So let's see. We have a lot of professional development planned for this fall. A lot of it takes place building-led and go from there. Some of it takes place run by, I'll say, administration. As an example, tomorrow morning we have 2 hours of professional development with our staff that I would say I lead. So welcome back, right? We talk about, we celebrate the good things that are going on and things like that. Most of the professional development are things that we've been working on for years. I think the main concern, I'll say, in regards to the questions about professional development have to do with our DEIB work. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it by saying everything's important and this is just part of it. I'm just going to focus on the DEIB. So if there are other questions about different professional development, please let me know. But I think the main questions about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. To give you some context, we've had a lot of conversations as a team regarding what this work looks like for our district. Knowing that there are some, it's an important topic for all of us, but we also don't feel that we're doing this just to do it. It's not an initiative to say let's do this so that we want to go through and be the only district that does this or something like that. We feel like there is a population of students. I know we've heard from several students in past board meetings. We've heard from a parent of somebody that had students in the district. We've heard from parents that have students in the district that don't want us to do this work. So we've heard from a wide spectrum. As you know in your emails, I'm sure you get a lot of the same emails I get. There's people passionate on both sides of this issue. I think our main initiative was to say we wanted to have conversations about supporting all of our kids all of the time. And that is not just when we have to do the work because something happened, that we wanted to do the work because we felt it was the right work to do. And that's when having conversations with whether it be staff members, parents. There's no group that we just go to and ask just a certain group of people questions. There is a group that was involved in some of this conversation a year ago, right when we were coming out of COVID. There was a group of parents. There were some parents. There were some teachers, some administrators, some students, and we had some dialogue about what does this look like in Hudsonville, knowing full well that we didn't have there wasn't an objective. I think a lot of people would say to us, "You're moving too slow on this. It takes time to do this work." Our goal was to truly have conversations with our administrative team about what this looks like, and then we wanted to have conversations with our teachers on what it looked like. And then, I'm not going to say that was it, but that was kind of it, right? To say, okay, can we have these conversations? There have been questions about what does this look like when a student is treated differently at school? Why is it not addressed individually? I think if you were to ask every one of our building principals, they'll tell you they do address it. Obviously, I don't hear all of them because I'm not in every building every day. A lot of situations do come to me, whether it be myself or to, I'm going to say Ann or to Melissa when it comes to Title IX situations. Those are situations that are obviously not public and we can't go through and discuss them unless they turn into board hearings, and normally those are closed, as the board well knows. Those are protected by FERPA. So we had conversations with our administrative team about doing this work. And so We had met with a consultant, Julian Newman, who you're well aware of. I think everybody here knows the name. And go from there. We had conversations about what this work could look like, knowing full well that we're not here to, I'm going to say, indoctrinate our staff or shame our kids or do any of this work, but to have a broader conversation about all means all. Every kid matters all the time, and can we have conversations about that? So we initially had Julian scheduled to meet with our administrative team. There was going to meet with all of our staff. And I think we had 4 sessions lined up to meet with our staff. We have since modified our schedule because we want to take a step back, I would say, and process this a little bit deeper as a school, and I'm going to say school community, because we have heard from people on both sides of the spectrum. We want to respect people's opinions going from there. So, so as an example, tomorrow, our building principals will be leading discussions with their staff regarding some of, he's done some short videos for us that we can look at and say, okay, what does this look like? And our staff can then, our building administrators are actually leading that with our staff. And they really, in their conversations, we do this a lot in professional development. We have topics that we discuss. They get in groups, whether it be by grade level, in a building, or they sit in groups of people, and then they have conversations. They might talk about, how does it impact them? What do they think about them? What does it look like? And go from there. Please.
Quick question. I had understood that the board was going to receive the video prior to this evening's meeting from Julie Moore.
Yeah, so we received the video yesterday, and we have made requests for modifications of the video in order to show it. So we're not there yet.
Okay. So it won't be shown tomorrow?
Well, we think it will be, and I should be able to share it with the board tonight. If you'd like me to put it on, I think we can.
Yes.
I don't know if you have the complete context. If it's done, did you?
I have the iteration that was shared yesterday.
Do you have the times? Do you have the handout?
Yeah.
Can you give the copy?
Well, she's handing that out. Doug, I know we had talked briefly about some of the documents that were produced on your FOIA.
Yeah.
And I know you had clarified for me, and I think it might be helpful to clarify for the board and those who are concerned, that the so-called list made was sort of like what we used to call popcorn prayer. You open up the floor and somebody says, what are some things that you think we need to work on? And that's how the list is compiled.
I've got to be honest that I've not heard of popcorn prayer. But that's okay.
1970s term, thank you.
It's okay.
Thank
So
you.
I will tell you that when we met with our, there were parents, administrators, teachers, students, I think I said administrators already, in the room, we did an exercise of just talk about what you think of Hudsonville's past, what you think Hudsonville is now, and what you think you want to see Hudsonville in the future. And it was just, you take sticky notes and you put them on bulletin board and just get people's perspective. We do that a lot when we have, like I know with all of our focus groups with our strategic planning, we did similar activities when you do talk about what you like about Hudsonville, talk about what you don't like. And it doesn't mean everybody agrees with anything. It's just, you can say whatever you want. And people put up. So I can't tell you if somebody made a comment about democracy or patriotism, I think is the word. I don't know if a couple students put that on there. I don't know if a teacher put that on there. I don't know if a parent put that on there. I don't know. It was just some of the words that came up. I'm not saying I agree with all the terms. They weren't my terms. But we're also respectful of people that wanted to express how they felt. Right, wrong, or different. So that's where the list came from. And it was just why it was shared. It was just context to what a group, and I'm not saying the group was representative of Hudsonville. It was, but I'm not saying that they represent everybody's opinion. Because some,
What was the group?
we met with a group of parents, administrators, teachers, and started this dialogue. It was kind of a DEIB group that we had started coming out of the pandemic a year ago.
I have no idea who's on that.
How were they
Who's
selected?
on-
How many people are on the committee? How were they selected?
Yeah, I'm thinking of how many. So a lot of them, I would say, were people that had reached out and said, we'd like to be involved in this conversation. I think there was a group, I would say there was a group from the Voices of Hudsonville that had reached out and asked, and we said we would like to start this work. We started with administrators. We had asked them who would want to be involved. We had a couple of administrators that asked if they could. We had asked some students if they would be involved. There were some younger kids and some student council kids that we asked if they would be involved. And then just some parents that had reached out and said they would be.
With this being such an important initiative for our district, I am concerned that I didn't even know about this DIB committee until I'm presented with emails from a FOIA request. That bothers me. I don't know who's on the committee. I don't know how long you've been meeting. I don't know what the goals are. I feel like I don't know what's going on. And I understand and I want to thank everyone who's been coming to board meetings since April. And I apologize that so many of you had to stand for so many of the board meetings when we had avenues where you could at least sit comfortably. As I've listened to everyone and I've received a ton of emails from both sides, I think I can honestly say we all have the same goal. We want all the kids to feel safe, or for them all to feel included and valued. How do we do that? Now, I see a DEIB committee being a great avenue, but we have to have representation from all sides included on this committee. I don't even know about the committee. So how do we get there? And to me, that's the conversation we need to be having. I give kudos to Mark Davis for asking about the agenda, because I left vacation to come to this meeting for an agenda that's not the one that was presented here tonight. So I think we have some work to do, because I think there needs to be a compromise. Compromise is hard. Let me tell you, I team teach at Grand Valley. Compromise is hard. But to move forward, there's going to have to be some compromises. Because I really, truly think we all have the same goal. But again, it's how do we get there?
There's no greater concern for me right now than transparency. And I'm deeply troubled that we had a changed agenda and I didn't know about it. I'm deeply troubled that we were going to be given a video to see today to review for tonight. And I get a handout here and it's going to be presented tomorrow without us even seeing it. Deeply disappointed.
I have asked to review materials. I've been told there are none. Yet I find out through the FOIA request that on April 28th, it talks about 4 modules and a description of each. I have not seen them, and I've asked for materials. And I'm sure that Julian does a lot of storytelling. Well, I do too. I tell a lot of stories in my classroom at Grand Valley, because that's how I get a point across, and the students are more apt to remember it. However, I also have objectives for every lecture that I give. On May 23rd, there's an email asking for the DEIB committee members to help with communication for the June 16th Julian Newman parent meeting. Yet the event was not even posted on our school calendar on the website because I couldn't find it. So how are we communicating it? Why don't we want people there? I don't understand. I don't feel that there's transparency in communication. Community members have questions, yet as a board, we've not been provided the opportunity to respond. We haven't been able to meet with the community. We only know what you are saying here at the meetings. I could go on, but I just feel at this point there has not been transparency and there has not been good communication. Now I'm being asked to review material for professional development, and through the FOIA, I saw an agenda that we're talking about privilege coming up, but yet I don't see any of the materials. So I have noted a common theme from individuals both presenting here at the board meetings and from a lot of the emails that I'm receiving. I think we have an issue with teachers. And the teachers need to remain politically neutral. I've seen it on both sides. I've had people that say it's teachers need to be politically neutral, and that's where it needs to start. And when they're not, they need to be held accountable.
Yes.
And if we don't start reining in our teachers, this is going to continue, because no child should be bullied and feel unsafe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
And I haven't even touched on the teacher's wish list for books. Right, Doug, you just talked about during the construction update. I wrote it down because I'm upset about it. We talked about you would not condone language from construction workers that students could overhear. But yet we have, where parents have come up and have read from books about words that we would not condone from the construction workers, yet we have them in our libraries. So, and I'm okay with having a diverse books in the library, but there needs to be a system where students have they're assigned permission form that they can check them out.
Yes.
I don't care if we have a Bible or if we have one on gender identity. That's okay, because I think there needs to be inclusive, but there needs to be a process where it's in the media center and kids have permission slips and they can check them out. These individual libraries and the teachers' classrooms, I don't know who's managing them, because I'm getting sent too many wish lists where I have too many concerns and I don't know what the process is. So I guess I'm done complaining for the night. I am just upset because I left vacation and left my family for an agenda that is not presented here tonight. So thank you.
And I'm
Thank you.
concerned that the most powerful group in this district right now is the DEIB committee. They are turning the head of the district, and the rest of us are watching it happen. I just want to be a part of the process, and I'm not. I don't know what's going on. I can't get information. And I'm not going to put up with it. That's all I have to say. That's not all I have to say, that's all I'm going to say.
So Doug, I agree that we've got opportunities around transparency. What I'm looking at here, I have no concern about this. Actually, I would like to have the videos and be able to see the videos, but at least the content I'm seeing here, it does not appear divisive. It appears to be good content, and I don't know why we would have any concerns being transparent about this. I think there's probably a lot of good intentions, a lot of good efforts that went into developing this. It's probably great content. I think we'd all like to see the videos and be able to, evaluate that on its merit. But I think the concerns we've heard around segregation of our kids, that's not what anybody's trying to do. Nobody's trying to divide kids by, color of their skin or create those divisive feelings. And that's not what any of this content does. I think to the degree that it's about equipping our teachers to make schools safe places, I think 100% of the community is behind that, and I think that's what it is. And I think transparency around the content will help people understand what we're trying to equip teachers with. And so to the degree that we can, going forward, put the content out there, put the videos out there. I understand that we might need copyright permissions or whatever it is around some of that stuff, but I think that should be our expectation, the standard that we hold ourselves to, is to get whatever permissions we need to be able to be transparent with this type of content. I'm sure those on the DEIB committee are incredibly well intentioned and want the best for our kids. in regards to how we get folks on that committee, but I think it is gonna be important as far as how do we determine where we go from here and how do we do the right things for our teachers and our kids, because what I'm seeing here actually looks good. I think some of the follow-up questions I might have is, with any training, I think the question is, what is the intended goal of the training and how are we going to measure the effectiveness of the training? And I'd love to hear about, maybe we're not getting effectiveness out of a single training, but ultimately, whatever we're investing in terms of professional development, we want to get some type of outcome from that, and how will we measure that?
Perhaps comparator, point in comparison is what we do with sex education curriculum. And now a lot of that's driven by the state, if I recall, right, in terms of how the curriculum is established and reviewed and the committee that supports it and so on and so on. But it's very, at least I take that to be quite a transparent and informed process that we talked about a couple of times, we reviewed a couple of times. And so I was thinking about that the other day. Maybe that is a good way to structure what we're doing. I mean, again, we know the committee, we know what's going on and so forth. Again, a topic that is obviously potentially a sensitive topic, a topic that is parents want to understand and know about. So that may give us a way forward in terms of something we can bring to establish around that as we think about how we move forward.
What disappoints me is I look at the diversity, equity, inclusion, and for 36 years as a teacher, every one of those was true of my classroom. And I believe the teachers at Park Elementary, I can't say about the other teachers. It was just what we did. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I probably only had 3 black students in my 35 years at Park, but they were not treated any differently than what the white students. I had both of my children in my class, and I had to make sure that I didn't treat them unfairly because they would think that I was favoring them. I mean, this seems so common sense that I can't believe that this is a big issue. Now with books, if there are books in the library, that shouldn't be there. And our teachers have opinions, politically, religiously, and I gotta tell you, I read a Bible story for 35 years at Park in the morning. 3 times I was told to stop because of a parent complaint. Now, if the teacher next to me was reading from the Quran, I would have been the first one to complain. We don't have that right in a public school. And our principal's got to make sure that these things are listened to and followed through.
Other comments from the board?
So,
you want to say something?
yeah, we often create committees to do different things at school. And I believe, because we started discussing this topic over a year ago as a board, and our intent to make sure every student feels safe was really the driving intent behind everything we did in regards to this. And like a lot of committees, I have no idea who are on certain committees. We commission it to happen because our administrators to put it together. This one has become such political hot topic across the nation. It's drawn extra attention that we normally wouldn't for many of the types of topics and committees are put together for, which unfortunately I think everybody's heart in here has been repeated several times is headed towards the we wanna see that each child in the district has the same opportunity to learn and equally feels safe, even if they're different, no matter which way they're different in this school system. So, unfortunately, I think with all of the attention this gotten, it has maybe driven us in behavior a little different than we would react normally. Even being able to discuss things like we normally would as a board has sometimes not been possible, just because we like to have pretty open, bantering conversation, and it's hard to do that in a highly public setting without having something you said that's misinterpreted. Because a lot of us like to explore the what ifs or the scenarios of the situation. And sometimes doing that might be misinterpreted as support of an idea. So I find that the whole situation has drawn us to approach things differently than we normally would. To me, right now, it's our responsibility to step back and find ways to help people understand what we're talking about, ways we can debate our differences and come to conclusions like we always have. It's just difficult in our current emotional state sometimes to find that common ground, that ability to interact as we should.
Do we have the videos available to
Yeah.
watch, or can they be sent to us later?
We can send it to you. The problem is we can't, they're not our property. So,
You pay for
doing
it.
so in a way that would allow us to, I mean, there's nothing, it's not our property. I mean, I can't,
But
I
did you
can't just
pay
like,
for
I
it?
can't show it, I can't pick a movie up and show it to you without permission. We can show it, we can send it, we could actually play it, but my concern is if it's recorded by somebody else and played online, it's not my property. I mean, otherwise I would show it to you right now.
I'm with Chad that as I look through the information that's presented for tomorrow, this is pretty, I'm not concerned with the content, with the words that I'm reading on pages. The video is the missing piece. Do we pause on videos tomorrow and we talk about, have a conversation around the content, but pause on the videos and just not go there tomorrow. If we can't see them into something that the board, which I'm hearing the board had desired to do and that they expected to do. Thought, put it down on the table, thoughts. And again, we're not taking a vote on that, we're having discussions, so thoughts, comments. As a way to move us forward here.
I've had very deep concerns about Julian Newman, not because I've done a lot of research on it, but just simply from the one meeting I've had with him and the one time I heard him in the public meeting. I would be concerned about the video being shown without the board knowing what's being in it.
I have not met Julian Newman. I was only present at the parent meeting, but I have done my research and I as well have concerns. Okay, I fully support that we need to do some things with diversity. I just don't know if Julian Newman is the right person to help us. It just seems to be creating a lot of division in our community. So do we take a step back? We paid him a lot of money. I agree what looks on printing here looks okay, but having listened to some of his podcasts, the first 25 minutes I thought were great. And then I was like, oh, no. So I'm just I don't know Julian's the right fit for our district.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Benjik, but the words, these slides are principal-led discussions, correct? Okay. Did I understand that correctly? Okay. So Julian was the videos, the slides are principal-led. All right.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate that pivot was made, that the conversations be principal-led. I certainly acknowledge and have heard the concerns on Julian. I've been sent a lot of content. But my response has always been, I would like to see content before rendering judgment on the value of that content in our district. I think anybody and everybody can be subject to character assassination of some kind, and maybe it's warranted and maybe it's not, but to me what's more important is the content that we have, wherever that content is. So to the degree that we can, these slides look good, nothing objectionable in here. I think I would hope and expect that probably we would see the same thing in the videos, but I think it is important to see the videos.
So I think I'm hearing a consensus on the board that we pause on the videos for the moment, that this remains principal-led activity, and we go in that direction now. The August 18th. Now, we should talk about August 23 and August 24. We should take that. That is teacher professional development, as I recall. And can you speak to the plan, what was planned for that teacher professional development?
Yeah, it was 2 half days. One half day was elementary, the next day was second.
Okay.
Similar content. I think this first series of professional development that was video led really focused on really all students and how to bridge the relationship for all the 7 L's. Don't love, listen, lament, learn, lead, lean, and link. And then additional professional development in that next half-day session was continuing conversations about polarizing conversations, about how to navigate polarizing conversations, whether it be with 2 students, 2 staff members. Sometimes students get in arguments, sometimes students treat each other differently, and how do we navigate polarizing conversations? How do you meet above the problem instead of trying to convince somebody to be, and that was a lot of it was tomorrow too, instead of convincing somebody to join your team, how do you recognize that you have differences? Kind of an analogy that was used was, you might be a Democrat, your sister might be a Republican, how do you figure out how to navigate Thanksgiving dinner? Right? And not talk about politics. But to not try to have somebody join your side, but whatever your position is, to not try to get somebody to join your position, but respect your position enough to still have dialogue.
So is that, Doug, is that different from what, through the FOIA request and the email that was provided to us, we have on August 24th and 25th, it's on privilege,
That's correct.
the 2 hours, so did that.
We made a lot of changes to what was planned.
So I think, again, kind of following the discussion of transparency, of board insight, board awareness of content, of transparency and so forth, prior to that 23rd, 24th, which is next week. You want to say Thursday? Got that right? The board should see that content, should have a chance to weigh in on it. And I do agree with Steve Bowerman that we assign a lot of committees to cover a lot of different things in the district, because for us to manage all of it would be, an administrative team to manage all of it would be impractical. Plus, it's a way to involve the community in those discussions. But this one has risen up because of a number of factors to the board level, and it's now discussion by the board and review by the board is pertinent and timely. Prior to the 23rd, 24th.
I'm sorry, I want to be crystal clear that DEIB committee they have not made these decisions about professional development, and Julian Newman, who hired him, or anything. He's not been involved with that committee, he's not met with that committee. We met as a group. his name did come up as a recommendation from somebody in a couple different circles, but he hasn't met with that.
Understand. Yeah, and I'm kind of moving away from the, not moving away, but talking about the broader
Wait,
topic.
did he meet?
Yes,
with that
he
group?
did. I have the email right here.
I wasn't asking whoever said that, but did he? I don't
He
remember.
joined as
who
an
that was.
introduction.
You what?
He did provide an introduction, and it's a meeting where we had kind of just talked about exploring possibilities, and he provided an introduction, and we.
So he did meet with that committee at some point? Okay. I don't-
Correct.
You know when that was? I'm sorry.
I don't remember the date.
That's fine.
But as people have been coming to the board meeting since April, as such a hot topic, it just seems like the board would have more information on what is going on, because this is a hot topic and people have been coming since April, and we are getting so many emails. And it's difficult to, well, as you know, I just acknowledged that I received your email and I've read it, because I honestly don't have any information to share, because I'm not being provided with any information. I just feel there is a huge transparency and communication issue right now on an initiative that is so important to our district, and I believe is needed. But I think there needs to be some compromise along the way, and I just, again, I don't know if Julie and you,
Okay.
you might be wonderful. I just don't know, because there's such division right now, if it's right for us.
Well, I can assure you there's been compromise, otherwise our plan would have been the same for topics and dates and times and so forth.
But we haven't been
Yeah.
shared any of that, Doug. We
Well,
don't know what the plan was, we don't know how it's been changed. I've asked you for content, and to find out in April, there's 4 modules with descriptions. Share them. I just want information, I just wanna know. People just want information. We're all here for the same reason, and I think probably most of us would probably approve with what's being shared. But when you're not sharing anything, the rumor mill starts, and we're at where we're at today, I believe. 'Cause no one knows. I think maybe a small group knows, but.
And Barb, although I respect your opinion, and I greatly appreciate you, from past experience on this board, as well as in the profession that I'm in, sometimes providing people with what are true information and facts, especially in this day and age, A, is never enough, and B, is twisted. So although I agree, you're so rude.
Yeah, right.
Although I agree that we could have handled this better, I also know we are not the only school this is happening to. And I also know that some of it is fed by organizations who don't really have the truth. And so trying to bring ourselves above this, I think we all need to take a step back, myself included. But what I said the last time we met still stands. I'm very hurt by my community, very hurt.
So what I hear is, again, as a way forward, we are going to, again, discussion. So board, check me, comment, board, if I get something wrong. But here's a way forward is the session tomorrow will not include information, the videos from Julian Newman. The August 23, 24, 2 half-day sessions, we need to review content around that and get alignment and understanding and alignment around that. We need to understand, again, and the sex ed committee comes to mind, not because sex comes to mind, as a model for perhaps, given Steve Armour's point, that it's, and many of us have said the same thing, it's risen to a different level for a number of reasons. Perhaps there's a model there that we can follow that provides the transparency, communication, and so forth as we go forward, which would be healthy for the district, healthy for our parents, promote the type of discussion that we want to have in achieving that goal of supporting all kids all the time that we all share, right, that we all share. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. So, and so we'll have to talk about how we practically structure that. And I don't think we're sitting up here going, oh yeah, do A, B, C, and D. So we ask for a little bit of grace and patience from our community as we think through this just a little bit and how we structure things going forward. You're not, okay, I see, no, you're not patient, I got it. But give us a little, we're all learning here too. So, so I'm not talking about another 5 months, I'm talking about, days here, okay, or a week or something, as we structure this going forward and figure out how we get our arms around this. So we have some tangible items that we'll move forward with in the upcoming sessions, and then perhaps a model that we could talk about relative to our approach to supporting all kids all the time as our objective, as our goal going forward. Again, I'll put that on the table for discussion, debate by the board as a way to move forward here.
That sounds fine. I looked at just one more word,
Yes,
not
please.
necessarily the last
Yeah.
word. I'm not questioning the administration's intentions in doing the right things for all of our students. I'm just pointing out there are 5 hot buttons right now. One of them is Julian Newman. And I hate to see the welfare of the district and the benefit of this program risked for a personality who's not even an employee of the district. The other 4 points are diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. All are fine words, but they're lightning rods. The words have been poisoned. And in the marvelous breadth of the English language, we should be able to come up with some phrases or words that say what we're trying to do without using words that create conflict and lightning.
Good.
I agree with Mark.
Other comments, thoughts by the board? We do have to go into closed session. We do have a legal matter with building contracts we need to cover. But I don't want to hinder other comments from the board. Yes.
So Ken, I think your analogy of the Sex Ed Advisory Board and that process that we followed with Lisa is a good one in that it's been an ongoing debate, transparent content, the ability for dialogue around that content. And frankly, it was content as well that was divisive even amongst the board. There was not certainly unanimity in how we felt about what ultimately came out of that. And that's okay. That's the part of the debate, and I think that's good. With all the comments, the hundreds of comments and the hundreds of letters, two reflections. One, Mark, on your reflection on DEIB and the words being divisive and that the well's been poisoned. I agree with that. And I think that we have incredibly well-intentioned folks who have the kids' best interest at heart. But I think on occasion we've received a letter or a comment or a phone call that was not well-intentioned and came from a place of mistrust, misinformation, and frankly an intent to stir the pot. And I think that that's been a problem. But to the degree that folks are asking for transparency, they're right. I think we ought to be transparent with this. Now the other side of it is I think through the comments and the letters, I've become more emboldened than ever based on the comments I've heard from some parents, some students. I mean, the student letter I got via email the other day, really moved me in terms of this individual's experience and a very difficult experience in our district. And we have kids who are hurting, and we owe it to those kids to make it a safe environment and make sure that we have environments that when kids are hurting, they have a place to be heard and a place to be cared for, and somebody who cares about them is going to do the right thing. And I know that that's everybody's intention, and I applaud us for our willingness to take on this work and do the right thing. I think to the degree that we can slow down a little bit so we can speed up and accelerate through it. I haven't wavered in my commitment to do the work, but I think to the degree that we can make sure that we're doing it thoughtfully and being transparent as we're going, I think we have to do this work because we have to support these kids because there's a lot of kids hurting and these stories just break your heart to see.
Yeah, again, the phrase "support all kids all the time." Again, that's what we all strive for. And so we don't change the goal. We don't move from that goal. We change our approach. We change our tactics a little bit in order to achieve that goal. Support all kids all the time, which we all share. So we take a step back. We go, not I love the way you just put that. We take a step back to go, okay, let's assess so that we can move forward perhaps even more quickly and get to that goal and make sure we don't get emails like that from that young person again in the future where I don't know, I don't feel this way, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. That's it. Well said, Chad. Other comments from the board? Okay. I don't want to, Dr. Vanderjack, if you have further comments or anything, obviously we'll have further discussion. Is there anything you want to, this portion of it, any final comment other than, I'm sorry. Then we have to go into closed session on another matter. So any final comment on this? Okay. All right. Thank you for coming, sharing your opinions, sharing your thoughts, sharing your perspectives. Again, we're on a journey. We're all on this journey. We're all striving to get there, and we will. Because we want to discuss it, Chad.
Before we go into closed session, can we do a quick roundtable or at least talk
Absolutely.
about the topic?
Yeah, absolutely.
It hasn't been lightning rod enough. I do think we got to talk about masks for just a second.
Okay. Would you like to tee it up, Chad?
It's probably going to piss off a lot of people right now, but I'm not going to presume to make a recommendation that we should or shouldn't change our policy at the moment, but I just want to provide the context of, you own an umbrella and a raincoat for a particular time. And today was not the day that you get out the umbrella or you wear the raincoat because it was a beautiful day out there, but there's different days and different times where you assess the risk factors. And you do use an umbrella, you do use a raincoat. And I can tell you right now, the risk is rising and it's going up. I don't presume to be the expert, but I work with some of the best, smartest experts in West Michigan. And I can tell you the risk is going up, and I think we ought to at least know what our trigger point will be, where is it the light rain, a moderate rain, or is it a downpour where you ought to have the umbrella out that particular day. Our community, the risk has been rising. We have jumped up multiple levels to substantial risk in our region, and if the transmission of the virus reaches a certain threshold, I think masks are incredibly appropriate and ought to be worn by everybody. And if it takes a mandate to make everybody wear a mask when the risk is at the highest level, I think we ought to be comfortable doing that. And then taking away the mandate as soon as the risk drops below that particular level. So I know you guys talked with the health department. I hope that the health department and their advising against that, for that is, helping to determine what those thresholds and targets ought to be. But my concern right now is we're very much on the upswing of an escalation in our community. We don't know how high this one's going to go. The Delta variant, very transmissible. The Lambda variant has been identified in the country now, and that one's considered even riskier. And I think we just have to pay attention to the data and let the data drive decisions as opposed to letting emotions drive those types of decisions. So I guess I just want to make sure that from my perspective, as risk goes up, once it reaches a certain level, I fully support us having masks in school. I don't know what that level is. I think with the health department and the other experts, we gotta know what that level is.
And as an executive with Spectrum Health, you're seeing that data on a real time every day basis for some context for the audience. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, and
Thank you, Chad.
thank you, Chad. I agree with you on that. And just in case in point, I understand people want their own independent freedom. Believe me, my family has been torn apart on various levels. But you know why I'm wearing a mask today? It's not for me. It's for all of you, because I'm not feeling well. And I can tell you, if my droplet reached you, you might feel differently. I don't know what I have, could be allergies. But I'm saying that just like anything else, the more barriers that are available, the safer the other person is, not just you. So remember the other person besides yourself.
Thanks, Mark. Comment? Stephen, further comment?
Chad, I've always appreciated your perspective. I think it's been valuable having you here on the board and providing us with data that a lot of people don't get to see. And I would agree with your perspective. And I guess from my point of view, I trust trust that when we get to that point, the Ottawa County Health Department will come to the same consensus. If we were to see the situation differently than them, then I think we have to sit down and talk with them. But for now, I do trust their recommendation.
Larry?
I'm good.
Barb, any final comment?
I agree with Steve and Chad.
Okay, with that, we need to go into closed session, so, again, we have some matters to, you're welcome to stay until the end of the discussion. I would, 15, 20 minutes would be my guess. You're welcome to stay here and wait until afterwards, until we'll come back and there's no more agenda items, and then we'll adjourn at that point. We have a motion, please, and a second to go into closed session. Motion by Chad Pelz, support by Donna Stevens. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, we are in closed session. The board will move to a separate room across, and then we'll come back and we'll finish with our closed session. Scene 2. I'm having a bathroom break here, so bear with us here a moment.
Is this my good side? See something appropriate. There it is. You can't see the position.
Larry, you can chit chat afterwards. Everybody's tired here.
I'm sorry, there's former students.
I know they are.
You act like you're running for election.
But I'm not.
I know.
Okay. One more time, a board roundtable, and then we'll adjourn. Chad, anything else you want to add? Comment?
Just, I had a chance, I'm sorry, I was late, I was at my daughter's open house for 6th grade over at Baldwin Middle. Just appreciation for the staff. It is exciting to get back into school. I know we're looking forward to as normal of a year as we can possibly have. I know a ton of work goes into that with all the staff, and just a lot of excitement from the staff and the administration over there, and just really appreciate all the efforts to help get us ready for school this year.
Huh? Good. Mark?
All set. Thank you.
Steve? Good.
I walked through Park's open house on the way here, and I asked a couple of the parents, I said, what'd they do, move the Hudsonville Fair to Park Elementary? Because there were cars all over the place. Good to see them.
Yeah. Art?
I'm good.
Okay, with that kind of a motion, and second to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Motion by Chad, support from Larry, I think I heard. All in favor say yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.